justice and peace and equality.
All right, Game Changers Magazine, Game Changers Media Network, Voices of the Village podcast, where change starts with conversation. We're back with Mitchell White, candidate for House District 81. We in here.
District 81, stand up.
81, stand up, man. Man, it's funny because District 81 is unique. District 81 was unique. We it's a growing demographic.
Absolutely.
Where it's outside, like you said, outside unincorporated McDonough Kellytown Road. Yeah. So you riding back roads and ain't nothing inside.
It has its rural sections.
Okay.
And it's growing. There are new subdivisions coming in, things of that nature. And I know specifically some of the concerns that our residents have is with all of the development.
Yes.
And so one of the things that I'm committed to is making sure that we are investing in our infrastructure to reduce traffic congestion. Making investments in roads and sidewalks to help with the quality of life. Like there's certain parts in District 81, if you want to go for a walk, there's nowhere to walk. There's no sidewalks. You're basically walking in the street on the side of a road. But the development is good, but we want to have smart development. We want to have smart investment. But the first thing that the residents care about, and I tend to agree with them, is we want to make sure we have a robust infrastructure so we 10-minute commute to the store doesn't turn into 40 minutes, 50 minutes, just because the volume of traffic that's on the road. So it just has to be smart.
Now, and speaking of the volume of the traffic on the road, and I believe one of the cities I believe McDonough and Locust Grove is extremely suffering from the setback of not being ahead of the game when it comes from. But I also have to put that on Henry County. Right. Because, and the state of Georgia, because, so it's almost like teamwork's made the dream work, and we got to look at it, because these state routes, I mean, off of 218, these state routes are just now being built with a growing population. I mean, that's coming in Henry County like lab rats.
And look, this is where Trump's signature piece of legislation this term is the elephant in the room. Because we already know that much of the federal dollars that was being allocated to Georgia has been reduced drastically.
Yes.
And so this may potentially put some of those roadway projects on hold because Governor Kemp may have to reprioritize funds that were allocated for those projects to meet other needs and cover other things because there's been a reduction in federal funding. And, and of course I'm talking about the big, beautiful bill.
Yes.
And it's also that President Trump can enrich his billionaire friends and his corporate cronies. Think about that.
And I definitely agree with you, and I'm on a catch-22 with that. The reason being is, back 5 years ago, State Representative Derrick Jackson, who recently was just on our show, he emphasized how the state of Georgia received COVID relief funds, and we have over 700,000 small businesses in Georgia, and 0 of those small businesses receive COVID relief funding from the state. Right? So it's money in the reserve. We know Georgia is operating in a surplus,
Absolutely.
So is Governor Kemp using the messaging of Trump to say, I'm not going to give any money and just his bailout, or is the money really not there?
Well, no, I think the money is there. Last time I checked, if memory serves me correct, Georgia had about an $18 billion surplus.
Surplus, correct.
Now, with that being said, I am going to have to tip my hat to Kemp, because I do think Governor Kemp, because I do think overall he's done a pretty good job. But that means we need to do better. And that's my position on it. So I do think that the money is there, but again, there's a caveat now, because we have this elephant in the room with President Trump and this big beautiful bill and the reduction in federal dollars that's coming to the state of Georgia, and so we don't know how that's going to affect and impact everything. Cities and city councils and mayors and the governor, and we're going to have to make some tough decisions on what we are going to prioritize as a state, and where dollars and funding goes.
Yes.
Matter of fact, earlier this year I had the opportunity to tour the Henry County Learning and Support Center.
Okay.
And it was, I had no idea it was there, but it's a center that helps children and families in need. We're talking about health care. We're talking about help with food.
Right.
We're talking about help with clothing, anything that a family and a student would need. And I had the opportunity to talk with the executive director.
Okay.
And she, I was like, well, this is beautiful. This is all good. But how much of what is going on in Washington, D.C. is going to affect you guys?
Okay.
And what she told me as well is something that we are concerned about, we are watching, because we get approximately $8 million in federal funding for our facility to operate, to be able to pay staff, to be able to pay the doctors that we have on call if there's a health emergency for a student or a family member. And so these things are going to have a ripple effect and an impact.
Yes.
And so, and that was, doing with Doge and Elon Musk and, cutting the USAID money, things of that nature. And so I just want people to understand that, look, when things get rough here in Henry County, don't blame the chairwoman. Don't blame the Board of Commissioners.
Right.
Don't blame the mayor. Right?
Gotcha.
You have to understand how this all works and ties together.
Yes.
That is money that was coming to Georgia.
Yeah.
That's now not coming, so Donald Trump can give money to billionaires.
Man, and it's so funny that you mentioned we're talking about blaming our governors, our commissioners, and things of that nature. Mm-hmm. I think the ball gets passed back and forth to where messaging. Mm-hmm. How are you communicating?
Right.
What are you saying? Are you communicating your constituents? What are you doing to keep your people informed? And what I've seen from 2020 to 2025 is those same people that we voted in are becoming our enemies. Like, it's almost like, oh, I don't like, we were supposed to come in and build each other up, but it's like, oh, I don't deal with this person, I don't deal with it. Like, we nitpicking now when we become boule.
Right.
But,
and that's kind of the thing. Like, one thing I don't want to see us doing is attacking one another.
Correct.
We have to learn how to put our differences aside and come together. And again, this even transcends the party line.
Absolutely.
Because this wasn't the best interest of our constituents and the representatives of the communities that we represent. Right. And so, that's kind of where I've been with that. Like, I don't want to attack, just everyday regular people and local politicians and things of that nature. Again, you have to understand how there's this interplay between the state and the federal government, and how they're supposed to work together, again, to make our communities places of opportunities, not places of obstacles. But it appears as if President Trump, is doubling down on the latter with this big beautiful bill. And then on top of that, it doesn't even do anything to address the deficit. It makes it even worse. It adds to the deficit and to the debt. I'm like, come on, man. I can understand if Trump and congressional Republicans were asking Americans to make sacrifices and tough decisions so that we could address our budget deficit and our debt in a realistic way to reduce it, but it's not.
Correct.
It's only so you can enrich and fatten the pockets of billionaires and this emerging, burgeoning oligarchy.
Man, you better tell it, man. And I look at it as, if we're looking at the chain of command, and like you say, we're going down the chain of command. A lot of people say politics starts local.
Absolutely.
So again, we definitely don't want to point the finger at anybody and say, hey, you're the sole person that this is not happening. But is that
now? There is one caveat to that.
Okay.
There is a caveat.
Okay.
There's always a caveat. The caveat to that is if that person didn't in a very overt way
yes.
support the policies that's coming down from Donald Trump's administration.
Okay.
Now if you're a local politician and you ran on that and you pushed that and you promoted that, well then I do have to point my finger at you because you conscripted all of us to this mess that's coming out of the White House right now. That's going to hurt. Look, it's going to hurt seniors. We know this. They're talking about cutting Medicare, Medicaid. They want to privatize Social Security.
Okay.
So this is going to have an effect on our seniors, an adverse effect on our seniors.
It's definitely going to have an adverse effect.
It's going to hurt our school system.
Okay.
Students and working families and all of these demographics that even if you look at it from a biblical perspective, that Jesus would consider the least of these.
Amen.
And we know what Jesus said, when you did it to me, when you did it to the least of these.
Absolutely.
And that's what we see the Trump administration doing. And I'm going to give them the benefit of the doubt and say that it's not on purpose.
Okay.
It's not a very deliberate thing, but that's the way it appears to be. It appears that he's doing this deliberately to the least of these in American society.
Man, great point, Mr. White. I definitely appreciate that perspective and bringing it back to a very biblical, spiritual principle, in how we operate day to day. I think that's how we got to communicate with people, because we know Georgia to be one of the Bible Belt states.
Absolutely.
So we definitely know that values, spirituality, religious values are there.
Absolutely.
Now, the one thing. With Trump being voted in this last term, Mexicans, Latinos, all type of people believed in his messaging. Make America great again.
Right.
We're going to do this. 3 months later, he sends the Mexicans out of the country with ICE, the same people who voted for him, But I look at that in a opposition way.
Mm.
Did the Democratic Party get tired of the black message? Because I believe we gave up. I believe 2020, we thought we got to get somebody that look like us in office. We got to get somebody that represents us. We need this, And when it comes down to certain cultures, we got to do things fast. We got to do things. They got to see something,
Right.
Even though it's taken 400 years to get,
Right.
They got to see something. What is the state of, black people, again, trusting the Democratic Party? And I know we got to reach more than black people, but I'm talking about the base of the Democratic Party.
Right, absolutely. No, you know what? There's a lot of cynicism amongst the black community as it relates to politics more generally, but specifically as it relates to the Democratic Party.
Gotcha.
And part of that is the Democratic Party's fault. They're going to have to take some responsibility and accountability on that.
Yeah.
See, because you can't just play identity politics and be like, well, look, I'm going to put up a black face and y'all black, so just vote.
Yeah.
Doesn't work that way.
Correct.
We're more sophisticated than that as a community of people.
Right.
Now, with that being said, I do put some responsibility and accountability on the black community, because look, I'll just be honest.
Yeah.
Some of the things that I run across when I'm running for office and talking to people in our community,
yes,
is there tends to be this disposition as if they're doing me a favor. Look, let's break it down to brass tacks.
Yeah.
A state representative only makes about $17,000 to $24,000 a year.
Yes.
I'm not looking to get rich doing this.
Correct.
This is about representing you.
Yes.
And not just because you're black, but because you're an American.
Hard-working American.
You're in this community.
Yeah.
And we have specific things that we need to address because of that.
Yes.
And so, look, you're not doing me a favor by voting. You're paying taxes, and when you pay taxes, you have a say in what is going to happen with that money. My job as a state representative and a state legislator is to go get the money.
Correct.
They go get the money so the mayors of McDonough, mayors of Locust Grove, they can work with the city council and fulfill the needs of the constituents of the area.
Okay.
Right? So again, you're not doing me a favor by voting and having your say in the destiny of your community.
Right.
And so one of the things that I want to challenge about our community, especially brothers, because I run across this more with brothers. Look, we can't just continue to sit back and allow I ain't gonna do nothing. So what? It don't matter. Now, because you hear that, voting don't matter. Why are black people the only community told that their vote doesn't matter? We don't hear that when it comes to the Asian community.
Yeah.
We don't hear that when it comes to the Hispanic community.
Correct.
And we don't hear that when it comes to the white community. Only in our community are we given this counter message that our vote doesn't matter.
Wow.
Where if it didn't matter, you wouldn't have forces who are doing everything in their power to make sure it won't matter by gerrymandering.
Yes.
I mean, you look at what happened in Texas. We're talking about erasure of black political power and black political representation. Now, I'll give the Democratic Party credit with one thing.
Okay.
They are very correct when they say that a rising tide lifts all boats.
Yes.
And so the reason why I'm saying that, because what the information and what the data shows is that when black people do well, everyone does well.
Correct.
Because we tend to be at the lowest on the totem pole. Correct. And so when we're lifted up, it lifts up everyone else. But again, just don't sit here, brother, and you ain't vote.
Yeah.
I can go look and see you ain't voting 4 election cycles. You know what I mean? Yeah. You don't know who your state representative is.
Come on now.
You're not going to the school board meeting.
Yes.
You're not engaged and involved in any way, and then think that government is supposed to work for you. You have to make it work for you. You can't take it for granted. And so, look, as a community, we're going to have to be more involved, and we're going to have to be more vocal. And if you're in District 81 and you want to be more involved, hey, I'm right here.
Right there.
Join the fight. This isn't a campaign. It's a movement.
Definitely
That's
is.
what we're
Definitely
doing.
is,
it's a
man.
movement.
And I'm so glad you mentioned that, and we definitely have a responsibility to get out and vote. We definitely have. Now, I think one of the pushbacks in Georgia with African American men voting is it being ex-offenders.
Right.
It's a lot, just like it's gerrymandering.
Yeah.
It's a lot of red tape for African American men who have been in the system, who have not got their rights restored, their voting rights restored. I get messaging from African American men all the time. Hey man, how do I get my gun rights restored? How did you do that? How did you do this? How did you, So how do we overcome that hurdle?
Well, it's through legislation.
Okay.
Like we have to have a Democratic majority to get anything done.
Gotcha.
Like we have to have control of the House. We have to have control of the Senate, and we have to have a Democratic governor who's going to be willing to sign that type of legislation. Now, it's not going to begin with, listen, brother, if you're an ex-offender, you got to understand that it's not going to begin with your vote. I don't want people to misconstrue what I'm saying.
Okay.
Voting is not the end-all and the be-all of the political process.
Correct.
It is the final manifestation of the political process, but that's not where it really starts at. Okay. And I just said it. If you're an ex-offender and you care about this issue and you want to see legislation where we can get your rights restored through passage of a bill that a governor would be willing to sign, well, then that means you're going to have to do some advocacy work. You're going to have to get out here and knock doors and talk to people and volunteer for campaigns and fundraise for representatives who would be willing to present that type of legislation and muster the political will in both of the chambers and get it signed into law. So that's where it really starts at. That's where it really starts at. So if there are any brothers out there dealing with that issue, listen, I'm here.
Man.
I'm ready to work.
I think you hit it on the head, man. And I hate we got to go to another commercial break because we were just getting fired up with that one.
Good,
that was getting there, man. Shout out to Culturistic Kitchen, Joe DeCo Road, man. You guys make sure you stop by Culturistic Kitchen. Get your grub on. They got the best lamb chops on Wednesday, man. Make sure you stop by there. Also, shout out to a New Well Incorporated adult daycare for IDD. Adults who face IDD. Shout out to New Well. Also, shout out to Kim Mays State Farm celebrating 6 years in business. That's Kim Mays State Farm, and that's Sherry Denard State Farm celebrating 6 years in business, man. Huge shout out to all the businesses that are thriving. If we missed you, man, send us a shout out, and we won't leave you out on the next show. But we got to go to another commercial break. Game Changers Magazine, Game Changers Media Network, Voices of the Village podcast. Well, again, change starts with conversation. You guys stay tuned in.